And while it's happy to go in there to sleep, as soon as it's awake, it wants to out and it wants to move around a lot. And as he's sleeping, I can't see from here. But within the confines of the nest, it's very important for these owls to have contact with the parents, and the parents often do a little bit of grooming and rubbing. And what I'm doing, I don't have the beak, I don't have the sharp beak, but I think my fingers, though fat and stubby as they are, do give it a fair amount of satisfaction, not the right word, but comfort in stroking and rubbing its chin and preening its feathers for it. Very interesting thing are these whiskers that one finds on either side of some of these smaller owls, especially the insect eaters, that help them to find that insect at the last minute, just before they get, just as they're catching it, if the insect moves. And I've noticed in feeding this little one that those whiskers are exceptionally sensitive. Been feeding it moths and a lot of beetles. We have, I don't know if I could find one right now, but we have a lot of what are known as rose beetles. Some people call them Christmas beetles because they come out at Christmas time. I know something else. There's several things that are called Christmas beetles, but commonly known as rose beetles. And I think for a lot of people who do gardening, who know what a cutworm is, cutworms are the larvae of, so I'm just looking at a millipede, cutworms are the larvae of a subfamily of the scarabs, so they're related to the scarabs. They're highly numerous. There was one evening I was coming back from a drive near Yuri's house where a lot of them were raining onto the vehicle. I wish I was back then that I had the owl, because I would have had a whole bucket full. But I put up a white sheet next to the light, and we are catching insects at night. It's eating moths as well. And fortunately able to take them whole. Sometimes if it's too big, Owlet grabs it in its talons and pulls it apart with its beak. And there. Sorry, she's sleeping. He. Okay, I just got lost for words there. It's such an amazing little creature. Okay, let's just try and lift it. Herman's saying there's too much smoke. Well, you should be hungry actually, because you've been sleeping all day. So I don't know why you want to. Maybe it's just the light. Let's just sit here for a minute and see if it will probably jump down into my lap. It's very common, or rather very fond of climbing up my shirt and curling up under my hair and under my hat. Or when my hat's not on, when I'm in bed, it still curls up there. Yes, hello child. Gorgeous big yellow eyes. As an adult, it will have little ear tufts. And the Scops owl has a very distinct daytime pose. It's going for shadows. It doesn't want to be in the light. I'm not too sure what sex it is yet. Quite difficult to sex them at a young age. Also, it would require a little bit of discomfort to sorry, just want to, there, I'll give it some shadow. It'll relax now once it heads away from the light. And I'll be feeding it soon, and she'll be going to bed very soon. Physical contact, very important in the upbringing of any of these creatures that are dependent on maternal or parental care. And I try as often as I can to reassure it of love, of attention. It has its own little box that I've made. First it was a camera bag, but it soiled the camera bag a little bit. Just wants to get that head into some shadow. So I'll just shield it from the light for now. And now it's a tiny little box that I've made. I've put some nesting material in it. Sorry, Herman, when baby wants to go here, I'll show you what we'll do. Yeah, okay, here, come climb up here. Here we go. Get in there. So, it has its own little box. I put some nesting material in there. Actually, it's artificial nesting material that somebody sent me from the States many moons ago. A great friend of mine, Anna Breitenbach, who's an animal communicator, came back from the States from one of her workshops in Seattle or something, and she brought me something it's bought from a pet shop. It's almost like cotton wool. It's almost like a fluffy cotton stuff, but it's something artificial, and it's sold as nesting material for hamsters or birds or whatever. And I've somehow kept it all these years, actually all these moons, not too many years. Occasionally I throw tufts out for the swallows and for some of the birds to pick up for nesting material, but I've had this little clump of soft nesting material for some reason, and well, this is the reason. And I've lined this tiny little box, and I've torn a little hole in the side of the box as an entrance, and as soon as this little one eats, it climbs into that and goes to sleep. And of course when it's hungry it climbs out, and I keep that next to my head when I sleep, and during the night it climbs out and sits on my face and nibbles my nose and lets me know it wants another moth or another beetle. So there's a little bit of a mission, keeping this child healthy, keeping it fed, keeping it going, keeping it I don't know, can't quite put words to it, but keeping it. I don't want to end up in a situation where this owl is so dependent on humans. So I'm going to be going through a process of teaching it how to catch its own things by keeping insects in a little bucket, in a little tub, and when it wants to feed, not only feeding it from my hand, but also dropping insects on the ground for it to go to. But I also would like to get to the point where I can feed it by flying it in the way that falconers do, and Paula will be helping me with this, in that I'll be taking insects and encouraging it to come towards me with the insect, because at the moment I'm going towards it with the food, and I'd like to get that process reversed so that it identifies the prey species and it comes towards the prey species. And it would be nice if we could get to the point where this little child lives around here, around wild earth on its own. It lives wild and is able to fend for itself, but still be confident enough, or rather have trust enough in us, that it isn't very scared. And I'm hoping, against a lot of hope, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to film it over the next few weeks or so. Not very far from fledging. It's quite agile with its wings already. Not flying distance, but when it's at a height, it flaps pretty hard. It's exercising the wings pretty well. I'd say it's probably about a week and a half away from being fully fledged, maybe 2 weeks at the most, and hopefully we'll be able to keep you updated on that. But for now, this is who we have as our new Wild Earth member. And well, I'm kind of a proud father at the moment because it's doing so well, and it's kind of bonded with me in a way. It snuggles up, and as you can see, it snuggles up under my hair and against my beard, and often at night it tucks in under my neck. And it comes to me in a way that is indicative of a certain level of trust, and the fact that it is considering me as a parent. It's imprinted on me, and I've imprinted on it, and well, we're a little family now. So this is who, and don't quite know what else to say right now, other than keep tuned, or stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted on what's happening with this little one.